Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Um, my name is Stephanie Rivera, and I work with the Bach Festival Society. I'm the operations manager, and I just wanted to take a moment and welcome you. Thank you for joining us. And we are going to turn it over now to our board president, Dr. Jack Schott. Jack, are you there?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the trustees, I want to welcome you to this Bach Festival Society open house, the main purpose of which is to allow all of you who are partners with us in this adventure to hear from John Sinclair about the 2021 season. We are in a unique time. I don't need to say much about that to everybody. We want you to know that we are working hard to present a program that's in the tradition of Bach, and also that will be mindful of everyone's safety. So thank you for attending. There will be a chance for you to ask questions during and later in the program. And now back to Stephanie.
Great, thank you, Dr. Schott. And now we're going to hear from our artistic director and conductor, Dr. John Sinclair. And John, are you?
I'm unmuted now.
Okay, great.
Nice to see everyone. It's good to see so many familiar faces, and I see some of these people kind of regularly. I don't know if you wouldn't know this, but we have every Monday night at the regular rehearsal time, we have a Bach Festival Choir Happy Hour, and we see them every week. Last evening, I think it was 2 evenings ago, we had a wonderful meeting with all the orchestra players, Bach Festival. And I can tell you, to every single person, we are chomping at the bit to make music for you again. And we are all primed to do so, and we're working hard on the programming. This has been an unusual year to program, as you can well imagine. I would say I've programmed this season a dozen times, it seems like. I'm not too far from that number. And of course, we're concerned at the very front about your safety and about the safety of all the musicians too. So none of us on this call, I don't think, have tea leaves or a crystal ball. And if you do, I hope that you're going to share it with us, because we could sure use it. But what I know that we are committed to is to making music for you at the highest quality, something that you've been used to. And I want to share some of the cool things we have planned for you. So some of our visiting artists, we'll talk in a little bit about how we might do seating and how we might do crowds, but I'm going to talk about programming. So the first thing, you're going to have let's talk visiting artist. You're going to have Adam Golka, a world-class player coming, a pianist coming. This is still the Beethoven anniversary year. And you're going to hear him play all 32 Beethoven sonatas. And he's going to be filming him here and streaming it to you from here. And we're going to have some fun with that. You know, Beethoven loved his wine, so we're going to have wine pairings with some of your nights. Beethoven also was fastidious with his coffee, just as our guest artist is fastidious with his. So we're working on trying to get the right kind of blend and roast for you to join us with a Beethoven blend of coffee for one of the evenings for the sonatas. Oh, by the way, there are going to be 11 concerts of Beethoven sonatas. If that's, and then there's going to be another of miscellaneous programs. It will not be your traditional where you flip on the screen or however you're going to be viewing us and just see someone play. Now we're going to introduce it. There's going to be a little video clip. It's going to be an entertainment from the beginning. We also are planning a macaroni night. You see, one of Beethoven's favorite foods was the elbow macaroni with Parmesan cheese. Now to us, that seems like not very fancy food, but in Beethoven's day, rice was easy to get, but macaroni was not. And so it was a delicacy. So we are going to have a lot of fun. I don't want to give you all the ideas. I've just kind of hopefully whetted your appetite, but we have been talking with Adam, and we have that program, more ideas than you can imagine, and you're going to have a lot of fun with this. I know we're going to have a great time. Also, anytime we have a concert, you're going to be able to join us with questions with Zoom afterwards. So we're going to come online and you can talk to us. Some of you we may end up with a small crowd there, allowing a small crowd social distance, but just know that we will make sure that everything is safe when that's the case. But we have that set up. We also have the Juilliard Quartet, which we will be hearing and bringing to you. We have Voces 8. We're hoping Voces 8, by the time we get to February, we'll be able to be here live. If not, we will bring them also virtually, but we hope they're going to be here live. We also have the DS Trio, world-class trio. We're rescheduling him from last spring when you would have heard him. You know, when we ended our season, we really had two things left to present for you. We had the DS Trio and we had Elijah. And I am ever committed to bringing you Elijah. It is one of my favorite oratorios. It is fabulous music. So we originally planned to do it in September. Well, the school, Rollins College, has moved their start date back to the week that we would do this. Well, obviously we can't do that then. So we're going to put it into Elijah in October. And so the question you may have is, who's going to come and see it? Well, the answer is, I hope all of you, because our intent as of right now is to do it outside and to do an outdoor program for you. I think it could be a lot of fun. It probably won't be the entire Elijah. Probably, I think some of the drama would get lost outside, but it will be the greatest hits. The players and singers are excited. Now, as soon as we got shut down with the pandemic, we have had rehearsal tapes sent out to the choir so they can prepare for Elijah. So they've been rehearsing. I think they've even tried sectionals. We found out sectionals on Zoom they really don't work very well. But it's not from lack of trying. So we're going to be primed to do Elijah. As you know, I've switched from visiting artist over to the choral masterwork series. So we're looking after Elijah. Who knows what Christmas is going to bring? We were on this year to refilm and thus a new broadcast of our Christmas program. So many of you reached out to us about our broadcast that went all over the country. Actually, I don't know how many states it was in. I heard it was in 47 states and watched by way over 250,000 people. But those numbers just frighten me. It's better off for me to think it was just local. But we were on to film another one, but I don't think that'll happen this year, probably. I can't imagine a worse scenario than 175 singers singing right towards you. Given that what we've been told is acceptable and not acceptable. But we are going to, at this point, do a Christmas program. I'm not sure what it will entail, but it'll be the same high quality, probably different maybe way of using the choir, maybe different way of using some soloists. Certainly we'll have orchestra. So know that we're committed to that. We also have the local a cappella group run by my colleague, Jamie Ray, Voctive, is going to be doing a special program for you. And we will do that. Some of you may be here in person, but it will also be broadcast live and virtual for you. So let me take a step back before I go to spring and talk to you all the things that we've been dealing with. I know you read the news. I know you read the reports like the rest of us. And if you were in my household, you would know that we wipe down the groceries. We carry the mail in with rubber gloves. I mean, we're into the whole bit, rather sequestered the entire time. And it's a good thing because I know it's hard for you to imagine, but I'm a person of that certain age too. And so it's important that I stay safe too, and all of our singers. So we have been in contact with every organization you can imagine. The American Choral Directors, the National Association of Teachers Singing, Performing Arts Medicine. I am in a group that hears from all community choirs around the country as we meet regularly. I'm in a group that also talks to all the associated colleges of the South, all their music directors. So we are on top of all this. We're reading all the studies that are coming out. The orchestra the other day shared studies back and forth, and they were actually very surprised that brass instruments are not emitting any kind of aerosol from the bell. It's what the last set of research is. The instrument we have to be careful of is the flute. That's what we've been told. And so the players are all talking about masks and how they pull this off and what wind instruments do. all you need to know is we're going to try everything we can, and we're going to bring you music this year. And I am committed to that. As I shared with our board, I think that our audience will forgive us for all the various things except for one thing, not trying the college try to bring you great music, and that one we're committed to. So let's take us to spring. Who knows what spring's going to bring us for the other, but I know we've programmed our regular concert, and for every concert, we have a concert, then we have an alternative concert, and then we have a third or fourth concert in line. So for example, we were on to do the Ordering of Moses. We did it about 4 years ago. We loved it. We'd like to do another return bout on that. And we've got Bethune-Cookman involved with us. But if that doesn't pull off, then our next one will be one of spirituals and hymns and in orchestral settings. And if that doesn't pull off, we're going to do sets with brass and organ. In other words, just rest assured, you're going to hear some programming, and however we have to adjust it to make it happen. The best thing I think about our organization is we're nimble. We're agile. We have a very committed choir, and we have a very committed orchestra. And everyone is on the same boat to how do we pull this off? How do we bring you great music? And how do we do it safely? I think that's the buzzword for us. How do we do it safely for you? How do we do it safely for us? As we go further in, this was going to be a St. Matthew year. I see Joanne Kong on there, who's our regular harpsichordist. Hi, Joanne, and will be with us soon. I don't know if this will be the year for the St. Matthew. I doubt it. We probably will put cantatas in this year instead, since we don't have as many forces, won't have as many forces, but we'll return to that the next year. We probably will still see you here. We've worked through the programming. We've been talking with our soloists all along, and vocal soloists, and keeping them apprised. Also on our festival program is a concertos program, a Grieg piano concerto and a Sibelius violin concerto. We think those programs can go on as we normally would do them. And we'll just have people, some in the audience. We hope by then we can have lots. And we certainly, everything we do this year, this is what you should know, everything we do this year will be filmed and streamed and recorded for you to watch. As soon as this pandemic happened, my colleagues in the Department of Music and us in the Bach Festival immediately realized that we needed to be right on top of this technologically. So we have purchased 4 new cameras, high-end cameras that let us do various angles and remotes. We've also got all new microphones for both the chapel and for Tiki Hall. We think that we are in really great shape to bring you really first-class quality. It's one thing to point a camera at you and just record it. Another thing to have that level of camera and the level of microphones that gives you the sound reproduction that you're expecting. And we've gotten that equipment, and we are thrilled with it. We have consulted with the best in the business, and we actually have a couple of the best in the business right here in our department with Jamie Gray and Chuck Archer. And Dan Flick, they're right on top of technology. So we have gotten great minds working on this. In terms of safety, I haven't talked about our rest of our festival in the last concert, but in terms of safety, in addition to keeping up with all the reports, the artistic committee is organizing a panel of physicians, and our hope is to meet next week with them. And those physicians will be exploring with us how we keep the audience safe, how we keep all of our musicians safe. And they are people who are working in the field right now with COVID patients. There are also ones who are, some of them are choir members. We actually have a new choir member, a wonderful new soprano, who's the newest laryngologist in the ENT practice in Winter Park. Dr. Cook on my faculty, her sons are both physicians, and they'll be advising us. One of them is working with COVID patients right now. So we think we're going to have the best advice that we can possibly get, and we will take their advice. We're not into risk. We didn't make it to 85 years by being fly by night and just jumping at every little thing. We've always been really calculated with our programming and with how we approach our image. And we recognize that the number one thing we've got to deliver for you this year is first-class programming. Now, I have a couple other things to share with you, and then I'm open for questions. The other thing, our spring concert, we hope will go on as normal. That was originally going to be a night at the opera, and we're going to return to that, but I doubt if it's this year. Instead, we're going to bring you some really fun stuff. One of my very favorite pieces, Dvorak's Te Deum. Another favorite piece of mine, Knoxville, 1915 by Samuel Barber, featuring Mary Wilson, soprano. And the other big choral piece is a piece that the choir's been chomping at the bits to do for a long time. It's Morton Lawrence's Lux Aeterna. And so that is going to be a big a favorite of mine. Also on the festival, you can expect a Spiritual Spaces, and that will be coming as regular. Now, you get an idea of our programming, and I can go through any parts of this for you again. We, of course, will have organ recitals, and we'll have all the other things that go with our regular festival. We also have some other treats we're working on for you. Actually, about this time next month, we hope everything will still be in check, and we will be starting our recording projects for you. And so you're going to be given throughout this year lots of cantatas that we've recorded for you. And they're going to be a little bit like when you come to our Insights and Sounds, which I need to talk to you about too. Our Insights and Sounds program, but these are Bach cantatas. And we're going to introduce them to you, talk to you, and then present the cantata for you. Another recording project we have for you, I have had dozens and dozens of you say to me, how do I get recordings of those Spiritual Spaces programs you're doing? And the answer is you can't, because we haven't recorded them. This last year, we put up just some archival mics, and you've been hearing some of that. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow, you're going to hear one piece from that on our musical moments. You're going to hear Greensleeves by Vaughan Williams, Fantasia on Greensleeves. But what we're going to do is we're going in the next 2 months, half months probably, and record many of our favorite Spiritual Spaces programs and pieces, and we'll have those available to you as well. Once again, the only complaint you may have is, I wish those Bach Festival people would quit sending me so much music, because we certainly are not going to let you go without music. That's what we want to bring you, and we are as saddened by not being able to present it to you as hopefully you are by not being able to hear all of it live. But it will not be for lack of trying, and you will have plenty of music coming your way. And we are all poised to do so. I can tell you the players are dying to get back to work, and I can tell you that the singers are dying to get back to singing. So I could go on with a few other of our little projects, our Insights and Sounds. Some of those we may be able to pull off, some of them recorded. I think several of them we will be able to pull off because we've programmed them as such. So we plan on doing the Insights and Sounds and broadcasting them to you. Some of you may be in the audience. Our executive director, Betsy Gwinn, can talk to you a little bit about what they might want to do as far as seating and how we're dealing with things as far as partial crowds and 25% occupancy or half occupancy. All you should know is that we're going to follow whatever guidelines the college puts out, whatever guidelines the CDC puts out, and whatever we think is necessary to keep you safe. And whatever is necessary to keep the artists safe as well. But we are committed to bringing you great music. I'm open to any questions you might have and any ideas you might want to share with us.
Why don't I just touch on how our administrative staff is talking about just the things you were mentioning: subscriptions, seating, those things I know many people on this call are interested in hearing. So to follow up, thank you, John. I know we have great music planned in store. Our challenges, in addition to keeping our artists safe, is how do we keep our patrons safe and present the highest quality music? We've gone back and forth several times, and so much is really unsure at this time, but I want to reassure everybody that there are a few things we do know for sure. So health and safety is of paramount importance. We're following the advice of our healthcare leaders to understand how to reopen as safely as possible. There are some great resources in the community to help us do that. We're also talking, as John mentioned, with our partners here at Rollins and our peers in the arts community about how they're reopening, many of which are doing so earlier than our schedule would normally open, so we can learn from what's working well with them and what's not. We also know that we'll have fewer seats to live performances. Social distance is really important, so we're working on a revised seat map, and we'll know for sure how many seats in each venue we'll have that'll be available for sale. As John mentioned, choral programming in the short term will likely be outside, so we're pursuing some of those options just to be as safe as possible and present choral and orchestral programming. And we're gonna obviously do streaming options so all of you can experience from home if you can't come, if there aren't seats available, or if you're just not comfortable getting out. We are trying to gather as much information about all of these things, what a social distance seat map looks like, how we're gonna communicate with our subscribers and patrons. I'm going to ask all of you to be flexible, because those of you who have had your same seats that you cherish and love in Knowles Chapel and Tiki Concert Hall, we just really won't have the ability to place everyone in their favorite seats for the obvious reasons. But I want to assure you that we know that those seats are important to you. And when the time comes, when we can have full houses, those seats that you've had will be guaranteed to have your name on it when we join together at full capacity. So I don't want anyone to be concerned that in this interim year of uncertainty, that your subscription seats will be lost. They'll be, we know what they are, and we'll keep them for you. So we're hoping to have some information about seating to you in early August. Obviously that we'll have to know some things specifically that are quite still up in the air, but that's what we're shooting for. And we do ask that you bear with us. We're really in prioritizing communication with our subscribers and patrons. And some of us are back in the office at a safe distance. So if you do have calls or questions, don't hesitate. We are here and happy to answer to the best of our knowledge. And I will also share that this summer we will be moving our office. For those of you who know us at the Osceola Lodge, we shared it with our good friends at the Winter Park Institute, and the college, as most of you know, has had to make some difficult cuts, one of which is the Winter Park Institute and the college's lease on the Osceola Lodge. So we're working with college staff to find housing for our administrative offices somewhere likely on campus or certainly in campus-owned property. So we'll be looking to do that sometime over the summer, and we'll certainly let you know where we move to, so that for any in-person tickets or questions, you'll know where to find us. I also want to take just a minute and thank so many that contributed to our great success with the United Arts campaign. We really made a lot of calls and pleas for support. We met our goal, and because of you, we are pleased that we have another about $40,000 in matching funds from Orange County. And those dollars are really the core of what we take into next year. So many other funding sources that we typically rely on are questionable this year, just as everything is. So those of you that made a gift, made an additional gift, made a third gift, stretched, I can't thank you enough. That money is allowing us to figure out different ways to present music and keep this organization strong and in the hearts, ears, and minds of all of you and more. So really, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know we've had a few questions that were shared in the survey, and there's time too for you can either ask questions in the chat feature, or we'll probably have time to unmute and ask a few too. Stephanie is our host, our Zoom host, so I'm going to turn it back over to her, and she can read a few questions that we got in advance and also open it up for others. But thank you again.
All right, thank you, Betsy. So we did receive several questions, so thank you to those of you who submitted them in the online form. So one of the questions, and actually I'm going to combine these two questions. What is being done to ensure safety of patrons, and what is being done to protect the choir and orchestra member? So John and Betsy, I think you could probably take turns to answer that, but I'll let you guys take it away.
Okay. Well, I think we talked about what we're going to do. We talked that we are going to do it. I don't think we gave you specifics, and I'm not sure we have all the answers yet, except for the commitment to that. I can tell you that there will not be singers standing, at least until we have an assurance of some sort of treatment plan or a vaccine. We will not have singers sharing space where they will be breathing on each other and sharing aerosol. And I can tell you that'll not be happening with arching over the players as well. So the best, we're going to be relying heavily on our medical experts to tell us what we can do, what we can't do. But I don't have all your answers yet, except for the commitment that it will happen. As far as patrons, I know that that's been a discussion right from the very beginning. And Betsy, you might want to talk about that.
So we are talking to our peers. We're looking at a seat map where there is a safe social distance. Some of the programs that John mentioned for the fall are solo, so we don't have large forces, and we can keep patrons at a safe distance. Probably wearing masks, possibly taking temperatures of patrons and staff. We're working with the college on a plan to sanitize the performance spaces and any common areas. So while we don't have a firm plan in hand today, that is exactly what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll have the good news of our peers here locally and around the country to help us make all the right decisions. So when we do bring people back, we know we're presenting the safest possible experience for everyone.
Great, thank you for that. And another question was, what might outdoor performances look like?
That's a great question. The first answer to that is safer than inside. We had that long discussion with the orchestra the other day, and so we need to have space, and that's one of the reasons why an outdoor performance would be that way. We would certainly have it amplified. It would be pretty difficult to hear a choir if they were not amplified outside. As you know, when you go to Christmas in the Park, we're amplified. We wouldn't be in close formation like we would in those locations. The orchestra would be spread out. You will notice when you get an opportunity to see our cantatas we're going to be recording and some of the other things we're going to be recording, that the orchestra will be spread out. And so I expect that will happen outdoors. We are still trying to decide the best venue. I know that I don't want to give too much away so you'll get disappointed as to where we may end up or not, but you should know that we've explored all kinds of places. Everywhere from any big open space in Winter Park to outside Winter Park, the safest locations we can. We know that we will actually have to have it very drawn out. It'll almost be architectural of this player is here, this player is here, this singer is here. And so I also know that the same concerns you're asking of how it's going to look are the same concerns that the choir and orchestra have completely. And I don't have your answers yet. All you have for me is a commitment that we will find the safest way to do it, and we will make sure that no one's at risk in doing so.
And along those same lines, John, someone did ask specifically, are there plans to hold performances at the Rollins soccer field?
that was one of the places that we've been talking about. We've got to talk to Rollins about that first. We, as many of you have attended concerts we've done on the lawn in front of the big lawn in the on Rollins campus, and we've talked about that, but that probably doesn't give us enough space to really spread out. Soccer field was one that we certainly looked at, that we would have to get permission, and we'd have to look at all the spots. We have about, to be honest with you, I have 7 places that I'm thinking about. And as soon as I mention one, that's the place we're going to be, and then we not are there, I will have people say, well, why didn't we stick with the original plan? As of now, there's lots of plans, but we're waiting for the best one.
All right, great. And then one other question was, will general admission tickets still be available?
So the general admission seating we have in Knowles Chapel, and as John and I were just sharing, you know, the choral concerts are going to be the most challenging because we have so many artists and singers in one enclosed space at a time. So we just don't know yet. There will certainly be fewer seats, and our primary goal is safety. But because we're also offering these performances streaming, there will always be an affordable way for somebody to hear and experience it. It may not be in person, but certainly we're committed to making the music accessible to all.
All right, great. And then the last question that I have is, will patrons be required to wear face masks or face coverings?
So right now, I think that's the guidance for any inside performance is social distancing and face masks. We'll know more, I think, when we get closer to our season beginning in October. We do have the benefit of just having
the microphone.
Adam Golka on our do the Beethoven works in the fall. So we'll definitely know more by October, but certainly safety is a priority. Safety for all of our patrons, staff, and volunteers. So if it helps make that space safer, yes, we'll be doing that.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there are any other questions, I'm going to open it up to the chat group. Or the group chat rather, would you please, you should have a little button at the bottom of your screen that says chat. If you click on that, a little window might pop up and you can type in a question. So if you do have a question, I would ask that you go ahead and type that in, and I can read those. And looks like our first one is coming in now, and it says, how will rehearsals take place? So John, that's your role there.
Well, that's a great question. We already know that they're not going to take place with 175 people at one time in a room. And so what we're planning on with the college is breaking our groups into a lot smaller units. So as I've shared with the choir, I would imagine that in preparation, for example, Elijah, there will not be one rehearsal a week. There may be 7 or 8 rehearsals a week with smaller groups each time coming in and rehearsing, and then only putting them together when we can be in an outdoor and a safe environment to rehearse together. So there's going to be actually a lot more of them than there were before. We also will be doing more rehearsal tapes, some of the people participating. The players also, when we rehearse, we will have to find a big open space to do so. You should not be alarmed if you see the orchestra, at least in the foreseeable future, in masks, and maybe in some of the wind players, maybe even in shields. So we know that it's going to take us a lot more effort to do what we normally would do, and take maybe a little more skill to pull that off, but we're up for the challenge. As I said to the board the other day, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I'd bet on us, because we're going to figure it out, and we will figure out a way to do it the best we possibly can.
Thank you, John. Another question is, oops, wait a second. Will the streaming option be paid, be it at a cost?
So we're still looking at what those costs will be. Certainly, we anticipate offering some free streaming, at least to get people to experience what it's like. And what we're investigating that now. We certainly still have the cost to bring and present the music, bring the artists, present the music. So we're looking at a model that'll help cover some of those expenses, because ticket sales will be significantly reduced because of capacity. So we're looking at adding some revenue from streaming. That people will want to experience something before buying. And we're also sensitive to the fact that there is a lot of streaming out there. So our goal is to make the programming the highest quality, unique to Bach, affordable, to help us continue to present great music.
Excellent. All right, the next question I believe would be for John. It's about the cantata series. It says, will the cantata series be with assorted small choirs?
We're checking out all kinds of options on that. Yeah, obviously, Bach wrote a slew of cantatas. We know he wrote a cycle, 5 complete cycles for the liturgical year, which means 250 sacred cantatas, of which we have around not quite 200 of them that survive, and some secular. So a lot of cantatas are written for solo voice with chorale at the end, with choir parts at the end. Some are written with choir in a particular chorus, and then a chorale, and then solos in the middle. There's all varieties of them. And some of them will feature maybe small groups. We also know, I don't know if many of you, I know you're inundated with all these virtual choirs. Most of these virtual experiences you can pull off to some degree, but for choral groups, most of them, there's already a track laid down that they sing on top of. And so we will probably try our hand at bringing some of those chorales to you virtually. And if it's safe, we will put smaller choirs and smaller groups of singers around to sing those. And we may well do those by recording on top of them, so they're not all in the same room at the same time. So we've got all kinds of angles we're approaching. I can't give you the answer until I know what the particular guidelines are for us at that particular time. And you can well imagine there are some singers and players who are not so comfortable in being in those spaces right now. And so we also, in addition to providing music, we have to also provide safety for them as well. One other comment, Stephanie, is that I'm grateful that Bach had so many options for us. I took a project, I've heard all the cantatas before and looked at all of them, but I recommitted myself to looking at all the works again so I could just pick the best what I wanted to. So I've been listening to 10 to 15 cantatas a day. And I'm just about through them all again. And so I think I'm kind of cherry-picked the ones I think will really be fun for us. And a lot of them that we've never heard here in our Bach Festival in all these years. One of the things I'm remiss in saying, and I need to say before anyone gets off, is it is so wonderful to see all these faces and so many faces of people that I miss seeing it. Once I start naming names, first of all, your names are real small on my screen, as mine is probably for you. I will miss somebody, but it's nice to see colleagues, and it's nice to see choir members and orchestra members, and it's especially nice to see all of our patrons who make this all possible for us. And I know that you patrons joining us are from all over the country, because I know where you live. So it's great to see you.
And speaking of colleagues, there is a question from a colleague, and I know that other organizations are kind of looking to others and see what other, what we're doing versus what they're planning on doing or looking to do. So one question is, will choir and orchestra numbers or size be reduced to accommodate the space that we'll use for performances?
Probably. We've had that discussion with the choir already, that the likelihood, for example, once again, of seeing 175 people with a full orchestra on stage with a full audience is probably not going to happen until we get some all clear of some sort. But I could see us doing smaller forces orchestrally, smaller forces chorally, and maybe even doing several performances, rotating out the choir so different choir members get to sing. You may hear the Bach choir in its big forces when we do something outside, or certainly in the fall that way. But you also might hear in the spring, for example, a smaller group of singers, and you may hear different groups at different times. We want to keep all the choir engaged in making music, and of course, we want to keep the players engaged too. We are rather limited by the size of the orchestra we can have anyway, by the size of our stage. So to spread out will be a challenge, but we will take that challenge on.
Great. And I know one of our board members, Cindy McKinnon, wanted to say something. So Cindy, I'm going to unmute you. If you want to go ahead and say something, you may. Oh, it's not working. Let's see.
There you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm so impressed with the numbers of people that are here. I'm a trustee of the Bach Festival Society, and I'm also the development chairman. That's a euphemism for trying to get financial support. So, of course, I have to say a word here. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir, literally and figuratively, because you are our very best, most loyal people. And we appreciate you so much. As Betsy said, your generosity enabled us to unlock an additional $40,000 from Orange County, which we desperately need. As your common sense would tell you, if you're an organization whose sole purpose is to present spectacular choral performances, and there's a COVID virus, and you're getting all these scary messages about singing and aerosols or whatever they're called, you know that has a profound impact on us. And you've heard from John and Betsy that we have enormous expertise within our organization trying to figure out the very best way that we can continue to provide the most spectacular music that we really need in order to, it uplifts our souls during these uncertain times. And we want that to continue. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I ask you to, first of all, things will not be the same for the next couple of years. They'll still be excellent, but the performances will be in a different format. Please continue to support us and talk to your friends about us. And secondly, thank you so much for the financial support that you've given us in the past. And it's been, we appreciate it very much. And I recognize your names, although I don't know a lot of you. But if you can bring in additional people to give us financial support, if you can increase your gifts, of course, that's fabulous. But if you can talk to your friends about what a unique organization this is and what a unique and beautiful contribution this choir and organization can make in uncertain times like now, that will help us to weather the next few years that are very uncertain. So please continue to stick with us. I know you will anyway. And just talk to your friends too, because there's no one anywhere around us that presents this unique offering that we do. It's uniquely wonderful. And we know you appreciate that. So thank you. And please help us to continue. I know that you will.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, so let's see. I have another question. And this question is, any idea about what other choral organizations in the U.S. are planning for next season at this time, including the likes of the Mendelssohn Choir in Pittsburgh and various other U.S. Bach choral organizations?
The answer is that I keep up with everybody I can. I belong to all the various organizations, the Chorus America and the ACDA, and everyone is as confused as we are, quite frankly. And I think anyone who says that they can go do things as they've always done them before right now are not being very wise. And so, yes, I know what others are doing, and I think that they're all checking us out as well. But frankly, my main concern at this point is really not what they're doing, unless they have some ideas that I can appropriate. Other than that, I'm more concerned about what we're doing and how we're going to pull it off for our people. We're a very unique group, you know, that there are very few choral societies that has such a wonderful orchestra. Most choral societies are attached to another organization that is the orchestra. So we have kind of a double responsibility here. We have a great choir and a great orchestra. You know, if you mentioned, Cindy mentioned one thing about us having great expertise in the organization. As you probably know, our president, Dr. Jack Schott, is a physician. So it's not like years ago I went to a show and tell and I was introduced as one of those doctors that didn't do anybody any good. Well, Dr. Schott is one of those doctors that do people good, so, and knows about medical things. And so we have at the top of our organization a physician advising. So not to worry about us being concerned about anyone's health and welfare.
All right, wonderful. So that is, those are all the questions that I received via the chat and that were sent in ahead of time. John or Betsy, would you like to add anything, any final comments?
Betsy, go ahead and I'll say something at the end.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day and joining us. I was just delighted that so many people completed the survey, shared their good wishes and their appreciation for the musical moments. I really feel that Bach Festival is a family, that it's full of members that care about each other, and we'll get through this. And I want to thank the staff and the board and John for being creative and really just persevering. We'll figure it out. We are here. We're committed to the long haul. We will be here, and we'll put programming on that I know will be helpful at this time. So, John, I think it'd be perfect for you to sing us out.
Well, you wouldn't want me to sing you out, but you should know that quite often I come up here. We have our choir happy hour, and I usually come up to my office because I know I'll have enough bandwidth to carry all the people who join us, because we have anywhere from 40 to 100 join us on various Monday nights. And most Monday nights when I come here, I go over to the chapel and I sing a song before I leave. It's dark in the chapel. Probably something most people don't know this. It's dark in the chapel, and I like that. And it's probably best that it is. And the voice is not what it used to be, but I sing a piece every week in the chapel. And most weeks I sing one in Tiki Hall. Someone I just want I want the room to get used to, not forget why it's there, and let everyone know that we are dying to make music for you. And like I said, I just know the room misses the music, and I know we miss making music, and even more so, we miss seeing all of you. And Betsy said it best. We truly, truly are committed to bringing you great music, and we will do it in any way we can and as safely as we can. And we are indeed a family, and I have found that out. I knew that before, but I found that even more so during this pandemic, by all the way, the good wishes, all how the choir gets together, the orchestra gets together, the patrons are calling, they're writing. I get so many comments about the musical moments. And the last comment I got was, when are you going to stop the musical moments? My goal is to take you through the summer. And then hopefully we're going to have a whole bunch of other things to post for you. So once again, I want you to say, would those Bach Festival people quit sending me music rather than the other way around? Thank you all so, so very much. We are so appreciative and we love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I just wanted to add my thanks personally. It's lovely to see everybody's face. I miss you so much. And I know that you miss seeing other patrons like you as well. So thank you for joining us this evening. And we look forward to seeing you, actually being with you very soon. Take care.